Some questions too on fuel poverty. It's an issue that Margaret Ritchie's been trying to get onto the agenda. We saw Dolores Kelly saying, are you going to consider it? But he was non-committal again.
Yeah, he said that the executive would consider it at the first possible opportunity. Now, some people might have thought that when the executive came back from its 150-day standoff, the first possible opportunity would have been that first meeting, and they would have considered fuel poverty, because not only has Margaret Ritchie actually prepared a report on this, but during the course of the standoff, Martin McGuinness actually at one point suggested they could use urgent written procedures to push through a fuel poverty package. That never happened. Now, at the moment, I think that's figuring in these so-called costed proposals which the executive ministers have been asked to bring to the executive table as part of a general package to tackle the credit crunch. But it's obviously having to take its place alongside other ministers' proposals. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's an extra executive meeting tonight which was scheduled to consider those proposals, and then one on Thursday which should announce what they're going to give the go-ahead for. And I'm being led to believe that Margaret Ritchie's being asked to say, what's your priority? Is it the fuel poverty package, or is it affordable housing? And that there might be some sort of pressure away from one element of her proposals, which was effectively just docking vulnerable households £200 on their electricity bills, and more towards other elements, be it the affordable housing or be it the warm home scheme, which we heard Martin McGuinness talking about, which is essentially insulating people's houses.
OK, so lagging the loft, which the government has talked about as well. But the £200 would come straight out of the budget and presumably a big cost, and that's what they're trying to avoid. Yeah,
you get that sort of sense, or they're at least saying, well, look, money is tight overall. You've got to work out, Margaret Ritchie, what's your priority. But there is a little bit of a game, I think, going on here, because if Margaret Ritchie was to say, all right, my priority is affordable housing as opposed to fuel poverty, you can bet your bottom dollar that in the Assembly committees and in the Assembly chamber, we'd hear people saying, oh, she downgraded fuel poverty as opposed to housing. Obviously, it was interesting that the first items that the executive tackled, those big announcements that they made, all somehow or other seemed to appear in DUP or Sinn Féin ministers' departments, not in Margaret Ritchie's department. Of course, she's with the SDLP. Instead, we heard about the rapid transit system, Conor Murphy's department. We heard about the Titanic Quarters signature project, Arlene Foster's department. And despite everybody saying fuel poverty is a big priority, we haven't heard so much about that. Now, of course, things have been moving as well beyond Stormont. The oil prices come down. There have been moves from the Westminster government, so you could maybe say it's not quite the priority that it seemed at one stage in the autumn. But there's also a lot of internal politicking going on here, I think, as well.
OK, great. One to watch. Thanks, Mark.